Real talk, raw truth, raging hearts. Welcome to From the Minds of Raging Brats. Like, share, and subscribe.
Hi, welcome to From the Minds of Raging Brat. I'm Heather.
And I'm Ashley.
This week we're gonna be digging into some stuff that is going to cause some emotional reactions. I'm angry. I'm emotional about it.
I think people should be emotional about it.
If you're not emotional, that sounds like, and take it how it resonates with you, but that sounds like a you problem. And maybe you need to stop being so apathetic. Because I understand detaching and distancing because of anxiety and stuff, because I myself do that a lot. But there comes a point where just because something isn't beating down your door doesn't make it not your problem.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it really boils down to if you can say it's not happening to me, so why does it matter? Then you need to evaluate yourself.
Yeah, I think that makes you part of the problem.
Definitely.
And, there's times where I will happily include myself in that group as part of the problem of not speaking up, because some days my anxiety is so bad I can't even manage to get out of bed. And then to think about what's going on in the rest of the world would put me in an unsafe place. But
Yeah.
short of it putting me in an unsafe place, I don't tune the world out. It's because I feel so deeply that sometimes I have to give myself distance, but never enough distance to become apathetic.
Yeah. And I think it's important for our viewers to know, like anybody that's tuned in for a while, I'm usually the political one. I'm usually the one bringing up these discussions, but this week it was very important to Heather to talk about this because it has affected her so deeply.
Yeah, I don't I'm devastated, but I'm so furious at the people here in this country right now, because we are so worried about ICE debates. Like, I get that the little orange man has his opinions on what this country should stand for. I get that. And I won't debate with you about those kind of politics, left wing, right wing. I won't, because if it isn't the foundation of this country based on the Constitution and the forefathers thinking forward into the future of what they wanted for us as a community, the whole country, a community, not just little communities here and there that are trying to hold on to what this was supposed to be. I'm a constitutionalist, if you want to call it that. I don't stand for all the new age fluff that is thrown at us. I'm not here to listen to debates about ICE because they're trying to distract us from the bigger picture out in the world, because they don't want us to see kids starving that we are funding to starve them. Families being blown up that we are funding.
Yes, we spend billions of dollars to fund this, to buy weapons, to keep war going, to keep families starving. And the most messed up part of it is the way that they are funding or deciding success in a lot of these places is how many kids did we kill? How much money did we save? How long can we get our people to not pay attention to this so we can keep doing this shady shit behind closed doors?
And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that the ICE situation is a problem. As of June 10th, 2025, internal ICE data shows the agency's daily arrest quota shot from 1,000 to 3,000 a day. In one day, it tripled. One day. So I'm not saying it's not a crisis. I'm saying pay attention, because this is the distraction. This isn't the problem. Yeah, is it a problem? Yes, it is a problem. But is it the problem? No, not by far.
No.
And
And
for all of us to sit here and argue in a country founded on immigration about who we should and shouldn't let in, like, fuck you. We are all, and I include myself because I'm not 100% indigenous. Ashley's not 100% indigenous. We
nope.
just spoke about this, how if you're not 100% indigenous, you're a fucking land thief that
Yep.
stole land on genocide. And you want to sit here and tell other people they shouldn't be welcome in the country that you may not have been part of the active movement that stole the land, but you're still benefiting from it. So you're still the land thief while you're telling other people they aren't welcome in land you stole. How ridiculous is that?
Exactly. And we were called the melting pot of the world for a reason. We wouldn't have our railroad system. We wouldn't have half of our infrastructure, our roads, our plants taken care of, or anything else without the amazing work that immigrants have chosen to come here and do.
Most of the produce that reaches our tables,
Yep.
that's immigrants. It sure as hell isn't Bob next door. It isn't me. And I can speak from experience because I was at one time married to a Hispanic, and I heard Hispanic people say white people ain't shit because they won't ever do those jobs. And so me and my righteousness took my ass to an orchard. I've worked in a pear orchard and a grape orchard. And let me tell you, fuck that. For that pay, fuck you, fuck that, no thanks. But you know what? Those people get out there and graciously do it to provide for their families. Pennies on the dollar that you make, they get out there happily to do that. And you want to bitch, piss, and moan that they're taking your job? Fuck you.
Yeah, and a thing I don't think a lot of people realize, especially when they are just thinking about immigration as people coming over here illegally, which, by the way, some fucking made-up line in the sand is what that is that these people are paying taxes, most of them. They are paying the taxes just like we do. They put more in taxes in certain areas of this country, and yet they are being hunted down.
Well, and they don't get taxes back when they file their taxes. They still have to file, by the way, FYI, just in case you didn't know that. They still, as illegals, have to file their taxes. But the government then sends them a letter that says, thanks for your free money, fuck off. And let me just say that every opportunity that this country has presented for illegals to sign up and go to war for this country to become citizens, hundreds of thousands of immigrants, hands in the air, I'll go. I'll go. Where our own civilians, and I'm not saying that anybody should go to war. I'm not for war. I am not a advocate of war. I'm not. But I'm saying, if you don't got the balls to stand up for your own country, but then you want to bitch about somebody else that's willing to stand up for your country for you because they weren't born here, you're disgusting.
Yeah. And I got a real big problem with a draft dodger who's been given a little bit of power telling the military what they're going to do against its own citizens. Because everybody that they're arresting isn't illegal. They are taking our own citizens because of their color of their skin, because of the language they're choosing to speak. And we're supposed to act like this is all normal.
Yeah. According to reports from June 13th, 2025, roughly over 100,000 arrests had already been made by early June, yet 91% involved non-criminals, teachers, farm workers, legal entry families being torn from their lives.
And the thing is they want to say like they're helping this country, but the fact is if you're an immigrant and you're white, you're not being hunted down in the streets like other people are. There aren't whole communities having every single house raided and all the restaurants broken up and people running scared in predominantly white areas.
Take Los Angeles, for example. On June 6th, ICE conducted workplace and courthouse raids that sparked massive protests. Over 1,000 protesters, and by June 9th, 4,100 National Guard troops and 700 Marines were deployed. That's on our own country, militarizing against our civilians, while attention is trained elsewhere.
Yes, and the craziest part about that to me is California did not ask for the military to come in. The government, higher government, sent them in, and even LAPD was saying that ICE was unneeded and was taking drastic action to make conflict happen. I can't remember the exact word right now. But for the LAPD, some of the most violent police in the nation, some of the most crooked cops of all time, to say, no, they are out of line. They are being violent and inciting these riots to happen. You know there's an issue.
And this is happening to our own people. In June, CBS cited internal data shows 1,300 plus arrests daily, doubled the average from Trump's first 100 days. ICE is backpedaling about pausing farm and restaurant raids, but the 3,000 per day quota remains in place. You know what that is? It's state-sanctioned terror. And while we choke on outrage over ICE, faraway countries are in total fucking collapse. Children are dying of thirst. Families have no homes. Entire health systems have crumbled. They are praying and begging in the streets for countries like us to send them fucking parachuted MREs. Just so they can survive. Nobody wants to eat a fucking MRE.
No, right? And, let's give a little bit of facts here, at least for one of these places. Let's say Gaza. Gaza has had over 90% of its population displaced. All of its main infrastructure has been broken down, and now with the heavy controls on aid, on supplies, on everything coming into that country, they can't rebuild these hospitals. And do you know the main reason why the things are happening in Gaza? Because Israel has literally said Gaza is our test ground now. Israel is the 10th largest weapons producer and manufacturer in the entire world. And they use Gaza to test their weapons. Some of the weapons that they have tested are spike missiles. Those go after planes and make it to where they can't fight back that way. Another one is the Heron and Hermes droids. So these are droids that don't just collect information, but they are also designed to kill a person fastly and efficiently. Another one is skunk water or a sound cannon. They've tested all of these products in Israel, and once they test them, every single time a spike in weapon sales goes up, because then they can classify all of these as battle-tested weapons. And the evidence of their success are the bodies in the streets. But we're just supposed to ignore this.
And the damage that's being done to the infrastructure. On June 20th, 2025, UNICEF warned Gaza's water systems have collapsed. Only 40% of drinking facilities are operational, fueling a man-made drought where children will die of thirst. And data shows a 50% surge in acute child malnutrition in just 1 month, affecting 500,000 people. Entire families are lining up under fire for food. Over 25 killed by Israeli fire near aid trucks on June 20th, and 51 more the day before. This is epic level suffering. And yet we're screaming about ice in Portland or a Starbucks cup colors. We've forgotten how to connect the dots, to feel, to stand together. We're insulated by privilege. It's easier to fight about whether ICE is political than ask why Gaza's collapsing, why Sudan is burning, why Haiti has no government. And that's exactly what keeps us powerless. But it doesn't have to stay this way, people.
No, there is so much that we can be doing. Yes, our government is trying to fight against our humanitarianism. Like, they don't want us to help people. They don't want us to feel for other countries or these children dying in the streets. But I think it is so important to remember what America was and what we stood for. Can't say what we stand for, but what we stood for was not letting children suffer, not letting people starve when we have an overabundance of food that we put to waste every single day. It's so important to remember our empathy, even when it feels like they're trying to strip it from us.
I honestly don't even know what to say right now most of the time because it's just so devastating. But let's shift a little to Sudan, another crisis spiraling under our radar. Since April 2023, Sudan has been entrenched in a civil war between Sudanese army forces and the RSF. The consequences are catastrophic. As of February 5th, 2025, over 8.8 million people are internally displaced, with another 3.5 million fleeing as refugees. In Khartoum state alone, more than, and I may have butchered that name, I apologize, more than 61,000 people have died, not from bomb blasts alone, but from displacement, disease, and starvation. Since the war began, approximately 522,000 children have died of malnutrition.
And this used to be a place that we helped before we started cutting off all our humanitarian aid.
And honestly, it doesn't really matter which of these countries you turn to. It's US dollars that are either directly or indirectly funding these, whether you call it a war or you call it a civil dispute or whatever name you're putting on it. We are ultimately responsible for helping these places destroy themselves.
Exactly.
And turning a blind eye.
Yes, because I think one of the things that's really important to remember here is America is for profit. So we have a long history of turning our backs to horrible things happening as long as we can profit off of it.
Yeah. Famine was officially declared in parts of North Darfur in August 2024, particularly in camps like Zamzam, home to around 500,000 displaced, where children are dying at the rate of 1 every 2 hours. And between April 12th and April 13th of 2025, RSF stormed the Zamzam camp, killing or injuring hundreds of women and children and abducting about 40 aid workers and 50 civilians. By May, RSF had turned the camp into a military base, seizing humanitarian routes. In North Darfur, aid is being blocked. On June 3rd, 2025, a UN convoy carrying food was attacked. 5 people were killed, multiple trucks burned, and vital supplies were destroyed. And the scale is staggering. In June 2025, the FAO WFP's Hunger Hotspots warned that nearly 25 million Sudanese, over half the country, are at risk of famine if humanitarian access doesn't improve. The war isn't just bullets. It's famine, disease, displacement. Satellite imagery shows massive grave sites around Darfur camps like Zamzam, where starvation is killing thousands. When you lose half your population to hunger and conflict when your schools shut down 19 million children out of school region wide, when the hospitals are closed or bombed at least 26 times, you're witnessing the collapse of a country. Record heat waves, drought, inflating food prices, all fueled by this war. Yet here at home, we're shouting about ICE raids and while Sudan bleeds. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's crazy because we look back in history about things like this happening and we're always like, why didn't anybody do anything? Didn't they realize what was going on? We're living through history. We should be doing something. We should care. We should try.
and I know that maybe mine and Ashley's voice only reaches a handful of people. But if a handful of people tell a handful of people, tell a handful of people, tell a handful of people, pretty soon everybody in the world knows. And they stop letting apathy lead.
Yeah. I think so much of it really does boil down to that apathy thing, like, and it's not even like a lot of people are consciously apathetic. They're just taught to quietly ignore things that aren't shoved in their face.
Or they're so overwhelmed they're detaching or disassociating, and I understand that too. But at some point you have to, in order to be fully present in life, you have to be like, okay, I have to let the pain in too, the real stuff, not just the fluff that keeps life moving forward, but the hard stuff, the facing the real stuff. It's like when people talk about doing shadow work, that's the internal hard stuff. But you can't forget the external hard stuff that needs your attention too.
Yeah.
Then there's Haiti. Haiti isn't a refugee crisis. It's a state collapse. The gangs rule 85% of Port-au-Prince, and the violence is lethal. In the first 3 months of 2025 alone, UN data shows over 1.6 million people displaced, including 1.3 million internally uprooted by June 11th, 2025, half of whom are children.
Yeah. And I really want people to think about that. Think about let's not even do the whole country. Let's just take a big ass state like Texas. What if half that was all of a sudden displaced? What if all those kids lost their parents in America and they didn't know where to go? Can you imagine how disheartening that would be? How terrifying? And they're going through it for their whole country every single day.
Yep. Imagine while you're sitting at home talking about the gangs of LA and how scary it is to drive in some parts of LA. Imagine if that was every single inch of your country.
Yeah, no safe place, no way to get out.
On June 11th, 2025, IOM and UN agencies confirmed that 1.3 million Haitians are now displaced, the highest figure on record. And it gets worse. Gangs like Vive and Sanum and Grand Griffe are officially designated transnational terrorist groups on May 2nd, 2025. After the Pont Sunday massacre, where at least 115 people, including children and pregnant women, were killed. On May 13th, 2025, the Dominican Republic and Kenya warned that the Kenyan-led multinational mission in Haiti is underfunded and ineffective. Gangs still control the capital with over 1 million displaced and 1,600 or more deaths already this year. Then on May 23rd, 2025, the OAS meeting Haiti asked for help again, blaming cocaine and weapons trafficked from the U.S. fueling gang domination. The U.S. refused to increase funding as gangs outgun the Haitian National Police 10-1.
Of course we did.
So we can fund a whole war with tanks and guns and drones and everything else, but we can't fund an underfunded country to get gangs under control. so that little kids can eat and have a place to lay their head at night without worrying about a bullet coming through the wall and killing them?
No,
I don't
no,
understand that.
no. The US spends $3.8 billion on our military every single year. We don't spend nearly that in our aid now. We used to. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, we were doing better at helping a lot more places. But now. And it's disgusting. Because you can look up these facts. Like, that's what Heather and I did. It's easy to find. Like,
And I plan on dropping sources in the description box with the description, so feel free to do some research.
right? We always encourage you to do that.
And famine isn't abstract here either. United
No.
Nations Hunger Hotspots report from June 16, 2025 included Haiti as an immediate risk of starvation. By late 2024, nearly 5.4 million people, half the country, were experiencing crisis levels of hunger, with 5,636 people in famine conditions officially. Think about that. Famine resulting from gang blockades, corrupt institutions, and weaponized violence in the 21st century, while most of the world is focused on ICE policies here at home in the US.
Yeah. And again, that's mothers, children, grandmas, grandpas. It affects every generation and every person.
It really does. And I'm not minimizing ICE. I'm not. There are plenty of stories that I could share that would break your heart. And I'm going to give you guys a few more stats on that in a minute, but I just really want to drive home the fact that regardless of whether you are left, right, in the middle, don't give a shit when it comes to politics. This is a humanitarian issue.
Exactly.
We are basically declaring war on people, innocent people in our country. Am I saying every single immigrant is innocent and should be treated fairly and be in this country? No. Because I know firsthand that there's a lot of criminals that come across illegally because they don't want to be detected that way. I'm not saying that. I agree with what's his name, JD Delay or whatever. Pedos and stuff like that come across. Wood chipper, man. We don't need you.
Yeah.
We don't need to have you here. The person in the government that is trying to pass a bill that pedophiles that hurt kids get the death penalty, I'm with them. Every state should have that. I'm sorry, they're not recoverable if they're hurting little kids.
Sorry. I'm not sorry.
I say I'm
right,
sorry because I know that somewhere out there there's a mother, sister, whatever, that's their heart is breaking because they didn't see that side of that person. And I'm sorry for you. You didn't deserve that pain, but that person still deserves death.
Yes.
That's what it is.
Right? But like Heather said, this is a humanitarian thing. Like, that's why we brought up Gaza, Sudan, Haiti. Like, horrible things are happening here, but worse things are happening other places. And I think it would be a really great time if people would wake up to the fact that America is largely contributing to this. I'm not saying they're the only ones, like especially in Israel. France buys their weapons. Germany, Brazil, India, which I didn't realize, but India buys their weapons. And we may not be able to change things as easily over there as Americans. But if each person just does something small to stand up for the injustices in not just their own countries, but around the world, we could do something beautiful and worthwhile.
We really could. we really need to reconnect. And I know me and Ashley say this on a lot of episodes now because it's really true. We've gotten away from this sense of community. And I know I'm an introvert. I don't want to talk to my fucking neighbors either. I don't want to be up in their business. I don't want them up in mine. But that doesn't mean we can't be people. It doesn't mean you can't say hi and know who each other are. It doesn't mean when somebody moves into the neighborhood, you can't bake them a fucking pie and take it over there and them not have to worry that you're trying to fucking poison them. Like,
Right?
because today's
Okay.
day and age, people look at you like, why would you bake me anything?
Right?
And
What did you
honestly,
put in
I've
it?
been around some people that have brought me some food that I was like, that's not fucking happening.
Yeah. Yeah, my mom is definitely one of those. She's not, and it's no, like, offense to whoever made her food, like, whatever else, but, like, if she doesn't know you, she ain't eating your food. Because she's like, I don't know if maybe I did something in the past and I don't remember them and they're gonna get back at me, or I don't know how clean their fucking kitchen is. So I ain't doing it.
Yeah. Well, and I want to bring it back around because I do have feelings for people suffering due to the ICE situation. And I really
Oh,
want some of those real people stories to be brought into this because it is important that we include suffering happening here on our own land. But I
yes.
just want to make it very clear that this suffering is not happening because it needs to be happening. It's happening to distract you from the bigger picture.
Well, as of today in recording, I will bring up that we've bombed Iran today. One of their nuclear testing sites. So, yes, we are very much contributing to these problems.
So, some of the real human impacts of the ICE situation right now. In Pico Rivera on June 17th, a U.S. citizen Walmart employee was shoved and arrested by Border Patrol for trying to block an ICE arrest. In Lynn, Maryland, a green card, Maryland or Massachusetts, one of the two, I forget that abbreviation, sorry guys. A green card legal resident was detained, taken to a cemetery, beaten, and threatened with deportation. Charges were later dropped. Oops, sorry, our bad. You were actually legal.
Yeah.
At a Home Depot near Dodger Stadium on June 19th, ICE CBP agents bragged about seizing 31 bodies, including U.S. citizens. There is some private sector and community pushback. On June 20th, the Los Angeles Dodgers pledged $1 million to support immigrant families affected by the raids. California Governor Gavin Newsom sued to revoke federal control over the Guard, and federal courts upheld Trump's deployment. Gross. And
Right?
what this all means is isn't targeted law enforcement. It's state-sponsored intimidation. When the military is used in your streets for who? Immigrant families? Quota of $3,000 a day across farms, hotels, even daycares drive raids that ignore legal context or community ties. The goal, generate outrage and fear here, while the public ignores 328,000 children starving in Gaza, 25 million Sudanese on the brink, and 5.4 million Haitians facing famine. That's what they're distracting us from. And they're
Exactly.
doing it with more brutality, more corruption, and more innocent lives being destroyed.
Yeah. And I think if people take nothing else away from this conversation, then I want it to be that. They aren't terrorists running around like bombing us. They are children. They are mothers. They are little old ladies that even if they wanted to could not run from a bombing or the destruction that it causes.
And I don't know if I'll be able to find any fair use, but if I do find any fair use video of what's happening in Gaza, Sudan that isn't copyright, I will plug some in between some of our conversations because you guys, This is not okay. It's really not okay. Yeah, I mean, we've talked about it now. Gaza, Sudan, Haiti, right here at home with the ice. This isn't about one broken system. It's a pattern, a strategy, a distraction so deep, so effective that most of us don't even realize how numb we've become to the sound of suffering.
Yeah. Like, I can say when I was younger, we went to war with Iraq. And I remember feeling so deeply in my soul, like a fear for those kids, those people going through it that had nothing to do with the people that attacked us but had to suffer. And I think since the Iraq War, a lot of us have become more apathetic to these things going on. It almost became normalized. And that's why a lot of people call it the forgotten war. It happened for so long, we just stopped talking about it. It stopped feeling like a gut punch every time we turned on the news and had to hear about it.
Well, and we've become so numb as a country since 9/11, really. If we really get into it, it was so shocking. 9/11 was so shocking to this country that everything that's happened since has been like a slap in the face compared to the bomb that was dropped on us for 9/11. We're like, yeah,
Yeah.
you can't really get upset about an amputated toe when you've already had your whole leg amputated. I don't know what to tell you, but people, no, you can still get upset about both.
Yes, exactly.
Because these are people dying in real time, not just numbers. People, babies, mothers, elderly, students, aid workers, people just trying to survive. And we are being told to care more about slogans, party lines, and ICE quotas than we do about the actual cost of human life or worrying about the next election. Boy, who cares?
Mm-mm.
Like,
I'm not
who
even thinking
cares?
about that. I got too much other stuff going on in the world to think about 4 years from now. I'm worried about what they're going to do tomorrow or what they've done today that I haven't found out about yet.
Yeah, we have said it before, and I will definitely say it again. This apathy that we have as a country, this is privilege. And it's not just white privilege, but white privilege gets us a hell of a lot more in this country. I will say that, but I do want to be clear that US citizens, no matter what your color, have taken on this apathy
Yeah.
of the rest of the world and what's really going on, and you only fight for the things near and dear right here in home. And there's just a lot more to the world than that. Not because you're rich, not because your life is easy, but because you're being given the luxury of outrage over comfort while people elsewhere are praying for drinkable water or a safe place to sleep tonight. You get to go drink your bottled water or even your tap water that's clean, or your filtered water, your brittle water, whatever it may be, and lay down, even if even if you're homeless in this country. Right now,
Yeah.
tonight, you laying down under that bush or under that bridge is still safer than any of those children in Gaza, Sudan,
Yeah.
or Haiti.
Yeah. You know that wherever you are isn't going to be blown up at any frickin' second. You might get arrested, you might not have the best home life, but you're not dying in agonizing pain because somebody wanted to test their new spike missiles.
Yeah. And if you're hearing this and feeling helpless, good. It means you're still human. It means you're still reachable, that you're not numb yet, and you can still do something. Even if that something is posting on your Facebook or donating $1 to a humanitarian organization in one of those countries that's trying to get food to people. Even if it's you have a vlog or a TikTok or whatever, and you post your outrage, for the world
Yeah.
to see. Because believe it or not, a million voices uniting as one becomes really loud.
Yeah. And even if you're not the type of person to post on your Facebook, you know what? We have legislation, we have government. There are ways you can make your voice heard and let them know the people that they work for are unhappy.
Yeah, call your senator, call your governor's office. They take those messages. You know, if one person sends one of those messages, they may be able to set it aside. But when every person in the state that you're in starts calling that office, they can't just set them aside. They got to hear that voice.
If they want to keep their office and their their likability, pretty much.
Start by remembering that awareness is action, but don't stop there. Support vetted organizations on the ground, UNICEF, Doctors Without Borders, World Food Program, IRC, and others. We'll list links in the description. Call your lawmakers, show up in your community, start the hard conversations, use your platforms, teach your kids, give a damn. I mean, seriously, just give a damn is better than nothing.
Right?
Louder than the noise trying to shut you down.
Yeah. And Heather just brought up a really, really big part of something that helps, and it also helps prevent these things from continuing to happen in the future. Teach your kids. Sit them down when the news is on and talk to them about what's going on. How do they feel? What is some of their opinions? Especially parents that have those preteen, early teens, sitting them down and really understanding how they feel about something will help you explain things and teach them about the world around them.
Just keep it age appropriate. Little kids don't
Well, yeah.
necessarily need to know to see other
Well,
little kids starving because that can
no,
scare them.
no. There is okay to be like, there is other things happening in the world right now. You don't need to tell them people are starving to death. And as they get older, they're like, hey, you can be like, hey, yes, this happened today and you've seen it on the news. Let's have a conversation.
Yeah, for sure. And feel your emotions. Rage isn't the enemy here. Disconnection is. Rage is just a sign that your heart still works and that you still believe it can get better. So don't numb it out. Don't shut it out. Don't tune it out because it hurts. If anything in this episode moved you, don't sit on it. Share it. Talk about it. Be louder than the distractions because we are stronger together and we are never alone in the fight for humanity. Before we close this episode, because I'm about to head into the outro, I just want to say, I know that in today's day and age, with the million distractions on top of the million responsibilities and the fight to survive with inflation chasing everybody down, nipping at their heels, it is so much easier to tune out and disassociate. I am more than guilty of that myself. But there comes a point where you just have to look at what's going on outside in the world and realize that even though it's hard, because it is, it's hard in your own life to keep your head above water sometimes. There's somebody out there that even in your struggle, you could have the ability to help. And I know that sounds so hard some days when you're struggling. And on the days when it's hardest, I'm with you. Curl up in bed, grab your favorite stuffy, cuddle them, cry, scream, go back to sleep, tune the world out. But then once you're recharged, stand back up and tell people how you feel about it. Tell people that the injustice isn't something you want to stand for. You have any other thoughts for this episode, Ashley?
My only other thoughts about this are, I know it could be pretty unlikely that somebody in one of these countries that is going through this can even watch this, especially with their Wi-Fi and the problems that they're having. But if somehow they do, other people know what's going on. Other people are enraged, and we want to help, and we are trying to figure out how. Just because our government is being the way it is now does not mean that nobody cares. There are people that care about you just for existing.
And that doesn't matter which side of any debate you're on.
Yep.
Thank you for being here with us. This was a hard episode that needed to be shared. Until next time, stay awake, stay connected, stay human, and remember, rage responsibly.
We're also available on Spotify. We said what we said, and we're just getting started. Thanks for listening. Now go rage responsibly. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. See you soon.